Hey guys, today I am harvesting a bunch of my greens for a quiche that I'm making for dinner. I wanted to show you guys around while I did that. I'm going to start with a Siberian kale. It's been munched on by some cabbage worms and I've been plucking them off. So it came back, but I'm going to go ahead and harvest a bunch of this so that it's not wasted to worms and stuff. And yes, I do eat the ones that they ate off of. I just wash them thoroughly. I'm leaving the smaller ones so they can get nice and big, like these leaves that I'm harvesting right here. Pull this out. Making a quiche is a really great way to use up the greens from your garden. You get that extra health punch from the greens with the antioxidants and stuff, and it's just a really good way to use up the greens in the garden. If you grow too many or if you grow just enough, it's worth it. I think that's how I'm going to leave that. This is some kale. It's getting bigger, but what I want to do is go ahead and cut some of these leaves off so that some of the things underneath can come on up. This will get really big over the, in the next couple of months. I just want to go ahead and thin some of these out so that there's some space for the other leaves to come up. And I'm sure it would anyway, but this is pretty tightly packed in here, so I might as well. There's something so rewarding about growing your own produce. Now, over the summer, I've gotten the bulk of my produce from the store. But here, the time in August is when you get this huge influx of things in your garden happening, and it's really rewarding just all of the sudden. You see the flowers coming out in your beans, and most of the time your beans had beans on them, but my garden's a little bit slow this year. And I find that in this area, things do not produce like they would in other places. Like tomatoes and beans come in later, is what I found. And it can be a little bit frustrating because everybody else is getting a harvest and you're sitting there like twiddling your thumbs, but just wait. Just wait and watch, and it'll happen. If you properly care for your garden, you'll get a harvest. My garden wasn't doing that great for a while, and I couldn't figure out why, because I used a really good potting mix, or one that I used last year that worked really well. And what I found was, because of the shortages in the pandemic, the soil that I got from the same brand this year was not as good. They didn't let it sit in compost and break down and get all that good nutrients going on. And it looked like they had put some cocoa coir, like coconut fiber filler, into the bag. And I do not like that stuff. It creates mold issues in the roots of my plants sometimes. So what I did was I went ahead and I purchased some organic fertilizer. I got crushed crab shells, and I got bone meal and blood meal, all organic, and I just liberally sprinkled it everywhere. I've done that like 3 times, and all of a sudden my garden just exploded. So sometimes that's what it takes. I've been doing the eggshells, you know, drying them and crushing them up and sprinkling them in the garden all summer as well as banana peels. I dry them and crush them up and sprinkle them in the garden. But I'll see the benefits from those probably next season. Alright, so that looks pretty okay. There's plenty of room for other leaves to come up now and get some sunlight and get giant. Now over here we have a ton of basil. This year has been really abundant. Like, basil has been the only thing that's been really consistent in my garden this year. Just because I live on a terrace right now. If I had another kind of garden, like, you know, or owned a property and I was able to garden in the soil outside, I would definitely have more stuff in by now. But that being said, I literally, like, if you buy this piece of basil from the store, it's probably $3 or $4. That's what you get in that little rectangular package, is just something like that. If I add up all of the shoots and stuff that I've gotten off my plants to use with cooking over the summer, and I'm not even exaggerating, I've probably saved about $200 in basil alone, because herbs are expensive. They're ridiculously expensive. I have some mint over there too, but next year I plan to just like plant a crazy amount of basil. I have the sage here, and sage comes back every year, so that'll be nice to have next year. I'll pull this inside over the winter, or I might leave it out here in the greenhouse. It should do fine because it'll come back. I'm just topping off all of this basil. Oh, you can't see. And because I mean that makes it want to grow more. My bowl's already full, but I'm going to keep going. Now this over here, let's see, where are we at? I thought this was strawberry spinach. I'm not sure yet, so I'm going to leave it and see what happens. If anybody knows if this is strawberry spinach or not, let me know. It came up in the pot that I grew something in, but what I'm waiting for is the berries to show up so that I know, okay, this is strawberry spinach and it's safe to eat. I'm just going to hop back here and prune this basil back here. Oop. It's starting to go to seed back here. I don't mind if a little bit of it is bitter, but I definitely do not want this to be like a regular thing. So I'm trying to get it before it goes to seed. I have some oregano over here. It's starting to come back. It died because I didn't have a pot with holes in it, so it could drain properly. I'm going to harvest that basil right there. Thai basil has a really strong flavor. Some people don't like it. I think it's fine. I am going to go ahead and let this go to seed though, so I can get some seeds out of it, because it is starting to get a little bit too bitter for me. But for right now, I'm just gonna clip it back. All right. So next we need to come over here. I'll put my green bean bag in the spot. See, the squash is doing great. I don't have anything growing on it yet though, which is a bummer. But I have gotten a few nice peas off of that vine. My corn is getting big, which is great. My cucamelons are doing great. They're not fruiting yet, but they will. My shishito pepper might have a pepper ready, so we're gonna get down here and check this out. Let's see. Can you guys see that? Yeah, so right here, shishito pepper. This one, yeah, it's probably ready. And let's see, is there anything else ready? No. Over here, I have, it's really cramped out here. Over here I have some little red peppers. These are pimento peppers. Oh, and I have more green. I didn't know I had more green peppers on here. But, see, they're tiny, but they're peppers, so I'm harvesting those. I have a ton of tomatoes coming in on this plant, but none of them are ready yet, so we'll leave those. But right now I'm going to focus on harvesting this lettuce leaf basil, and there's a bunch of lettuce in here that I'm going to harvest as well. I'm just harvesting the tops of the lettuce leaf basil so that what's underneath can continue producing and I don't kill off the growth of the plant. This stuff gets massive if you let it. It's really tasty and it goes a long way. So I do love it. There's also some lettuce in here that I'm going to go ahead and grab. Some of it's small because it's been underneath this basil, but some of it has gotten quite large, like over here. This is a large patch of lettuce. See? And when I go inside, I'll just sort all this out. I can tell what everything looks like. Problem with growing it clustered in like this is that when you leave leaves, they shade a bunch of stuff out, but if you see right here, I don't know if you can see that, this just had 2 giant leaves on it and it's growing more from the middle, so that's what you're looking for. I'm going to go ahead and harvest this one. I'll leave that because it needs leaves to grow. I'll get some more of this lettuce. This stuff came up like ridiculously fast, ridiculously. This is definitely worth planting if you want something quick and easy, but very productive in your garden. Because this, I've already harvested this one time, and that was just like 4 days ago. So it's producing a ton. I'm gonna top off these basil plants here just to get them going. And I have some more cinnamon basil over here I'm going to grab. Smells good. But yeah, this is what the garden looks like right now. It looks really, I'm really happy with it. It's giving me a lot of food. Normally this bowl of greens would probably cost me around $20 or more. Like, so the basil in itself, this is probably $40 or $50 worth of basil right here because it's so much. But like the lettuce is probably like $4 or $5 worth of lettuce, and the peppers is probably like $1. But you get the idea. Anyway, this is what everything looks like. There's flowers in my beans. There's winged beans coming in. Little tiny flowers on that one. The onions are looking great. So thanks for coming to hang out with me this morning while I harvest my greens for my quiche. I'll bring you guys along with me while I make it later. These soybean sprouts the other day and I need to use them up before they go bad. So today for lunch I'm making soybean sprout soup. In this stock over here I have a mushroom stock packet, a dashi stock packet, and some 1 ounce of kelp. I'm just bringing that to a boil. This is everything bagel seasoning. I'm toasting it to top the soup. After about 15 minutes of that stock boiling, I'm going to add this onion, the soybean sprouts, half of this spring onion, and all this kimchi to the bowl, and I'm going to boil it again for about 5 to 6 minutes, and then I'll top it with these Korean red chili flakes and the everything bagel seasoning and the other half of these spring onions. I have my quiche crust out on the counter thawing, and the inside of the quiche, the shredded zucchini, the turkey sausage, and caramelized onions thawing as well. We'll use some of this in making the quiche later that I picked from the garden. And I forgot to add rice to the soup, so I'm adding some rice to the soup. If you see that packet of broth there, leaned against the Korean red chili pepper container on the counter, that is just mushroom stock. I got mine from Wegmans. You can get it on Amazon. These make it really easy to make Japanese and Korean style soup, so I highly recommend them. You can also just get, you know, kelp and sardines and bonito flakes, but I find with kids it's easier to just use a packet like this. I do have the other stuff in case I run out of packets, but yeah, they're really nice. But my son really loved this soup, and I did too. My dough for my quiche was thawing long enough, so I started to roll it out. It was a little bit challenging. I needed to put more flour down, I think. Next time when I double this, I will make a little bit extra, because this crust wasn't exactly big enough for the dish. It kind of sank down some, but it turned out really great in the end, so that's that. Tasted good, and it made a great quiche, so that's good enough in my book. I am just putting this in the pie dish. I'm going to put a piece of parchment paper over this and layer it with some beans and pre-cook it for about 25 minutes before I add the filling. I forgot to put the pie crust into the oven at this point. I'm adding the eggs to the bowl. I think I'm using around 7 eggs today. I usually use a few more, and I use more egg whites than yolks usually, but this is all I had today, so that's what I used. And I used the rest of my oat milk in the refrigerator as well. It was about half a cup of oat milk. There's my greens from the garden, and I put some feta cheese in this Bix as well. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm a little bit scatterbrained today. It's been a week of falling uphill. That's what I call it. It's a falling uphill week. It's been it's been a crazy week. I finally remembered that I needed to put the pie crust in, so that's what I'm doing right here. Hey guys, I have to apologize to you because my camera died while I was making the quiche, and by the time it was charged, we had already eaten dinner. So I'm going to show you what I have left of the quiche today. This is what it came out looking like. It's really delicious. I put 8 eggs into a bowl with half a cup of oat milk. I used the herbs from my garden and some zucchini and caramelized onions and turkey sausage that I had from my last quiche that I had frozen, and I put it in here with just a tiny bit of Colby Jack cheese and about half a cup of feta cheese. It's really good. Everybody liked it, of course, because like there's almost nothing left. So again, I apologize about that. I'm just here this morning getting breakfast ready. We're having leftover soybean sprout soup and quiche. And I know that's kind of a weird combination, but that's what we have, and I'm just going with it. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and share with your friends. I know the ending wasn't exactly ideal, but I'll be careful of that in the future. I'm still new to YouTube, so these things do happen. I don't have all that fancy equipment that a lot of people have, so that's just what tends to happen sometimes. And with the chaos of having a family, sometimes I don't notice when the camera dies, so that's what happened last night. And yeah, so I really hope you guys enjoyed this video despite the ending, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.